Every time I see one of these old sailing vessels, I am absolutely fascinated. How they were able to do this in the 14 and 1500s is just beyond me. They didn't make one of these or two of these, they made hundreds of these. This particular one that you're looking at is called El Galeon. It's a replica, but it's an exact replica of a Spanish galleon. They sail it from Spain across the Atlantic here to St. Augustine on occasion, and it operates exactly like it would have in the 15th and 16th century. 170 feet long, the masts are 120 feet tall, 30 feet at the beam, 495 tons, 10.5-foot draw. For my Navy guys, you'll know what that means. 9,600, I believe, square feet of sail. Yeah, 9,600. And they did it all with no electricity, no combustion engines, no computer-aided drawing or draft, no modern sealants like we know, no welding. And they made hundreds and hundreds of these. Now, I found something in Antarctica, and the reason I started here is because it's relevant. Some years ago, actually about a year and a half ago, a wreck of one of these ancient ships came ashore in this little place called Ponte Vedra, Florida, not very far from here. Now, what made the find so exciting was that this region, because of its military value, is very well mapped out. The seafloor, everything. Just about every little rise or divot or hole or anything like that is known. The wreck that came ashore was 48 feet long and from the 1700s. This happened back in March of 2018. And it was in amazing condition. The archaeologists were just stunned. For a while they thought it might have been a hoax, but once they got looking at it, it was the real deal. How something this large could have remained intact offshore in Florida, completely hidden and unknown, still is a mystery. But what it goes to show is that if this is the case here in one of the most strategic areas of Florida, where technology would have mapped everything out, if this can go missed, imagine what could be missed in Antarctica. Now, this is a replica of an ancient sailing ship. Ancient peoples knew how to navigate the sea in an organized, controlled, and usually military fashion. These are just two examples from, I believe, Greece and Egypt. So, that all having been said, one of the allegations I have made for a long time is that if there were an ancient civilization down here, remnants of one, they would have had to have been seafarers. And I've found so many places where we see things that look like ports, intercoastal waterways, like here, artificial moorings. It's really, honestly, probably the most exciting part of looking into Antarctica, more so than, a picture of a sculpted dragon or anything like that, to see evidence of real civilization, real things that you could recognize from your daily life. Here in St. Augustine, we have the inlet up by Volano Beach, the one at Fort Matanzas, of course, the one at Mayport. You can go up to Kings Bay Sub Base. This was critical infrastructure, not only for us in modern times, but for Renaissance era, 1400s, 1500s, Spain, France, and England used this all. Now, you're not going to believe what I found. I've shown in multiple locations what look like ships that are either trapped or under the ice. This particular one that I found is sitting right on top of it. and sticking out like a sore thumb. Now, how ancient man down here might have developed ships and technology might have been very different than how it was developed in, say, 15th century France or Spain. The odd thing about this particular one is that it's right in line, and I'm going to measure this for you guys. From bow to stern, it is 173 feet long. This is roughly the size of El Galeon. And here, at what looks like some type of a control area or captain's area, it's about 52 feet wide. This looks like in the rear here of the ship, back toward the stern, that this might have been some type of a landing platform. Maybe their aircraft didn't need wings per se like ours do. They used perhaps a different technology. Maybe this was more like a helicopter carrier. But this is just one that I have found. Probably the clearest image was from the other side of Antarctica, when we found these three. Now, these aren't, and actually, the more I look at it, it's more like four, because I really believe this is a smaller vessel, but these two for sure. And then there's one in the middle here. Not very far from it, there is what looks very much like the conning tower of a submarine. It's about 200 feet long, frozen in the ice. And over here is a ship turned on its side. This was one of the more difficult ones to find. Right here, this dark area, is where it's snapped. It looks like, to the left and top of the screen, this is the bow, this is the stern. So you would be looking at the port side facing up. It's turned on its side, starboard is facing down. And you can see some type of a mast right here. This wasn't the only location. This was a much older find. But once again, we have that very clear shape of a bow. And this, for lack of a better description, tongue depressor shape that looks like this is the deck of a ship. And it's just still partially buried. What else could create such a very specific shape? I have no idea. This is clearly a creation of an intelligence. Another location that we found, and this one was tough to see, but it was buried under the ice, and we needed to lighten up the image just a little bit for it to be clear. You can see this horn, this hook that's we saw in the ships from ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. And on the side of this right here, you can clearly see the difference in the side of the ship from the deck. Give me 1 second to clear this up. There is what looks like a figure 8. And I've alleged that it's a wrap, a figure 8 wrap for perhaps an anchor rope right here. And of course, I'll give you all of these locations and you can use your own equipment to find them and see them. But over and over again. And here's yet another one that we had found. This was actually the wrong one, pardon me. I will find that last one and get it down in the description. There's another one that we had found very near to that Cyclops statue. and I just had the wrong marker brought up, and I don't want to waste a bunch of your time trying to find it. But when you look at this even zoomed out, with everything else around it, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Whatever this is, it's not natural. And it looks just like all these other ships. And like I said, if a 48-foot long piece of a 300-year-old ship can lay undiscovered mere mile or so off the coast of Florida, northeastern Florida, right by Naval Station Mayport, how many things could we be missing down here? And I guess I'll just leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.